Okay, so we are heading into the second part of chapter dealing with structure and change. So we talked about organizational structure in the first part, and the second part deals with organizational change. And we typically talk about these two topics together because a lot of the time, what is being changed in organizations is the structure, and we call that restructuring. So we are designing new ways of putting the organization together. So, what is change? Right? We can change at the organizational level. We can also change at the human employee level. And it's just this. It's we're doing something different. So organizational change is the movement of an organization in this instance or a human from one state of affairs to another. So it's basically a gap analysis. We've done those before where we are at our current state and we are going up here to our future state. So we go from A to B. And a lot of the time we talk about that being a straight process. We go from A to B. But as we see here, going from current state to future state is not a straight line. So you're going to have some days, some weeks, some tasks that are successful. You're making progress towards where you want to go. And then you're going to dip down. But you go slowly back up again and you have one upswing and you're seeing progress again, and then you're running into some resistance and you're going to drop down. So the path of change, the process of change is never linear. The trick is to keep with it, to keep at it, because change fails frequently and change typically fails when we quit, right? So we don't resist through, or we don't push through the resistance, I should say. We don't push through the resistance. We quit early, and that is why so many changes fail. And if you look at statistics, a lot of people are quoting numbers above 50%, close to 70% of changes in organizations are not successful. So, as you see on this curve as well, we talk about the current state as unfreezing, and we're going to see that later in the Lewin, Lewin, Lewin change model. And the basic idea here is that we need to we need to unfreeze current mindsets and current thinking, cognitions, and current behaviors so that we can change and then we refreeze. So we unfreeze our current mindsets, our thinking behaviors, we do the change process, we end up here with new mindsets, thinkings, behaviors, and we need to refreeze. So we need to make those solid. Bottom right corner here talks about change resistance. So resistance is really one of the main reasons why change fail. It's because people don't want to, they resist. So change in almost any aspect of a company's operation is met with resistance. So this is extremely common, and it's the number one reason cited typically for failed changes. Different cultures can have different reactions to both the change and the means that we use to promote the change. Often, simply including employees in the change process can drastically reduce the opposition. Basic idea is that if you talk to people, you let them have influence, you ask them what they want and how they want to do things, they are more likely to be favorable towards the change. So why do we change? Why do companies change? Lots of reasons. Some of those reasons are going to be internal to the organizations, and some of those reasons are going to be external, outside in the environment. So things such as workplace demographic, different generations have different ideas of how they want to do things. We have technology, which is extremely fast moving right now. So we have things changing rapidly in the technological space that is impacting how we do business. We have globalization, right? So we have the opportunity to make our products and provide services throughout the globe and to have people in different parts of the world actually do the work for us. Bottom left, we have changes in the market conditions. So something that people did like 3 years, months ago, they don't anymore. And so we have to adapt accordingly. growth, right? So internal. So if the organization is growing and getting bigger, then we tend to see a move from more organic, flat organizations to more mechanistic, hierarchical organizations, as we need to make sure people are doing things similarly. Poor performance, bottom right. So obviously, if we're about to fail and if we are about to go out of business, probably we're gonna want to change. So a lot of different reasons. These are some of them, definitely not all of them. So this slide talks about resistance to change. We are looking at the different ways that people can resist. So we go all the way from active on your left side, all the way active resistance on your left side to enthusiastic support on your right side, with a couple of different ones in the middle. So as I already said, employee resistance is one of the main reasons why we fail in organizations, why we fail to change. And we already mentioned, right, that important feedback may come from listening to resistors, right? So they might have things to say about the change that can make the change better or faster or more amenable. So how do we resist? All the way on the left, you have active resistance. It's when we're taking actions and we are resisting the change. So we don't want to change and we're active about it. So things such sabotage or verbal non-support. So we might be speaking up against the change. We might be questioning leadership. We might be talking back. We might be telling our peers we don't like the change and this is why it's going to fail. And we might hurt the organization. We might stop coming into work. We might be slacking at work. So we might be doing things actively to oppose it. The next one over is the passive resistance, which we still don't like the change, but we're not saying or doing anything that's visible to management. So at least with the active resistance, management has the opportunity to address it. With passive resistance, they don't even know that the person is resisting, because neutral on the face, it might not be visible. So this is when we're not saying anything. We might be feeling very stressed, unhappy, and we might do things like looking for new jobs outside of the organization. And so again, that's not ideal for the company, but it might be helping the individual, but it might be hurtful to the organization. Then on the two right side bubbles here, compliance and enthusiastic support. It basically means we're for the change and we're liking it. And the compliance means we are passive in promoting it, or I should say passive in supporting it. And so we are quietly accepting the change, and here with enthusiastic support, we're actively supporting the change. So here we might be viewed as change agents. We might speak up on behalf of the change. We might help people that are struggling with the change, maybe the passive resistors. And so we are helping out and speaking in favor of the change because we believe in it. If we believe in the change and it's going to be a good thing, we typically speak up for it. So lots of different reasons why people actually resist change. This slide has a few of those options or a few of those reasons. This one is certainly not exhaustive. This is not a comprehensive list. So we have personality. Some people are just in their personality more likely to want to change or not change. Uncertainty is a thing that is detrimental to humans. We don't like ambiguity, we don't like uncertainty. And if our future is uncertain, we tend to shut down. If we lose power, money, status within the organization, we tend to not be in favor of that. And we also might be feeling that we are not going to be able to do the job. So if they're changing my job, they're changing the organization, we might be afraid that we're going to fail and not be successful, and that might actually impact our future with the organization. Disrupted habits. You're going to be in a new office, you're going to be on a new team, you might be reporting to a new manager, and we as humans, we are very habitual and not in favor of having our habits disrupted a lot. Personal impact of the change, right? Might it impact your salary, your opportunities for training, the friendships that you have in your organization? So this is a very broad category, including things such as disrupted habits. and prevalence of change. The more the change you have, both in your personal as well as in your work life, the more resistant you might end up being, because you're just fatigued at this point. You're tired. There's so many changes going on all the time, and you just can't deal with it right now. You don't want to deal with it. And so that makes it more challenging for organizations to push through the really important changes if they're doing change just for the sake of change. So that's going to wrap the change piece, and then we're going to come back for the Lewin and Cotter models in the next video. So see you there.